Hey guys, I had to share with you another video analysis from Rob Woodis. If you haven't seen Rob's channel yet, I'm gonna link it below. Please go there, check out his channel, check out his 2 videos, subscribe if you like what he's doing. Rob's using hard data and mathematics to find out how fast this UFO was traveling. What you're about to see and what you're about to learn about the speed of this UFO might shock you. Let's roll tape and check out what Rob discovered.
First of all, let's confirm the big one, which is where did this thing start? So let's look on the hillside over here, and I'm not gonna go for too accurate of a spot, but I've dropped a spot down where I think this thing originated. You guys can spend a little time on that if you want. I'm gonna zoom in. Here we go. It's a zoomed in spot. You see it. If you could possibly pick this thing up, it is right here. Right? And I'm going to just back this thing up. And you see how it turns up the mountainside? So right here, it kind of turns and goes up. So what I did was I kind of said this thing probably originated somewhere on this particular, underneath this particular mound of the hillside. So somewhere up in here. That's what I've got, I believe. Let's see, what did I say? Yeah. All right, and that's probably a little bit far, actually. That's probably a little bit out of view for where we would have seen it. So I think it's actually down a little bit from that. But hopefully you guys can all agree that's about where it starts. But we're not measuring that as the originating spot. We tended to be measuring this thing from, oops, sorry, wrong thing. So there's a spot where I think it's about 1 second from leaving the frame. So let's flip over to Google Earth and just grab some approximation. So I'm going to switch to miles. Look, that's 2 miles when it exits the valley right there. It might have been 2.5 when it started. So that's 2.4. Let's see, there's 2.5 right there on the side. So I suppose that's up to you to figure out if you want to use kind of round it to 2.5. Why don't we just do 2 miles? Let's just do 2. Let's say from there to the drone. You can see I've used a helicopter. 2 miles. So it flies 2 miles in 1 second. Let's just see what that calculation would add up to. So 2 miles in 1 second, right? That's 2 miles. So what about in 60 seconds? How far would that go? So that's 120 miles in a minute. And then times 60 minutes is 7,200 miles per hour. And of course, when we did 2.5 miles, we got 9,000 miles per hour. Pretty ridiculous sounding speed when we think in terrestrial terms, I suppose. We don't really have a familiarity with things that can go that fast. So, you know, it's all just fact-finding and speculation. Have we discovered some new phenomenon that we're learning about? Maybe. I don't know. All right, 7,000 miles per hour to get from there to here in 1 second. But let's go with some other measurements now that I think you guys tend to be more familiar with. And I want to focus on the bird analogy for a second. A lot of people have said it's a gyrfalcon or different types of falcon. I think the gyrfalcon actually has white plumage at a certain point, so it sometimes can look white because most of the birds and bugs that we see in these videos look dark. And of course, the object, when it flies by, it definitely looks light colored, right? So we want to see, is that a bird? Is that a way that's a falcon? So it's not making a dive per se. It actually doesn't change elevation that much. If anything, let me move this guy. If anything, it's dropping in elevation as it comes down out of the canyon there. But it's not a dive, and then it flies past. So that's a lot of speed if it was coming from that far away, and if it's closer, then it's still not coming out of a dive. But it's also not apparent to me that there's any wings flapping. Maybe you guys see something I don't. But let's see. I'm going to just play that through a little bit slow. Yep, that looks to me like it's kind of cruising by with no movement. So let's look and see what else do we have in this particular view. Come up here. We've got the utility pole. All right, so maybe this thing is actually flying from about the location of the utility pole, right? I'm gonna actually zoom in a little and get that guy in frame. Let's see here. Where is that? There it is. So it's on the other ridge line. So maybe this is a bird that is on that second hillside, right? It's right above the hill, and it's just swooping down. So it's coming from about the location of the power line. I don't know if that's something you guys have thought might be possible. Let's see. What if that's a possibility? How fast would it have to be going? I think we're going to stick with the fact that it crosses out of frame in 1 second, because that's what makes this so unique. So let's check out this utility pole here. All right, clear that previous distance. And again, I realize I might be droning on here, so this is probably a long, boring video that not many people are going to watch, but hopefully the ones who can hang through it have gotten some good information. Okay, utility pole. Drawing the line here to our drone in Google Earth. 0.25 miles, right? Quarter of a mile, which if anybody wants to know the feet, I can't do that in my head, so there we go, about 1,300 feet. So 0.25 miles. All right, here comes our favorite thing, the math. We're gonna do 0.25 miles in 1 second, right? And we want to see how many miles per hour. So we've got 0.25 miles in 1 second. So how many miles is that in 1 minute? So times 60 is 15 miles in a minute. And then times 60 again is 900 miles per hour. Well, that might have surprised some people, I think. 900 miles per hour. I'm going to just leave that up for a second. From the utility pole, doesn't look that far away. Let's just go at this again. The utility pole, I'm zoomed in, but that utility pole just doesn't seem that far. But look, we just looked at it. We just looked at the measurement. Let me actually switch back to a view that is more accurate, because this is the original footage. There's the utility pole, right? There's our object. So going from the utility pole out of screen, out of frame in 1 second. I want to say this again. From the utility pole to the drone requires 900 miles per hour. It doesn't make a difference what a bird at that distance looks like. The bird has to be really, really fast. Not technically possible to be a bird unless there's some other thing that's not being considered. And so what is it? Well, it must be CGI. Well, this is where we have to pay attention to the source. And the source is talking. The source has provided the original file. The source has said they're going for more metadata if they can get it off of their equipment. The source has said they were there, they didn't see anything. They provided exact location, right? The time. And they're speaking about this. And that's something we should all appreciate. And it doesn't mean they're telling the truth. Maybe they have ulterior motives, and that's something that it's up to you to figure out. But I tend to move forward by first having faith in people. And I first believe people until they give me a reason not to. So that's what I'm doing here. I am actually looking at this, taking into consideration that the source said, this is real and I don't know what it is. And for me, it's pretty amazing. Thanks for hanging with me for so long during this video. I'll try to answer some questions about it, and we'll see you guys on the internet.